Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. We've observed that the Warriors are one of the teams looking for more size in the paint, and that may be why Claxton's name has come up in conversations. Brooklyn Nets center Nick Claxton is having a great season with the Nets, and at this rate, it could be the best season of his career if he maintains his level of production. While Brooklyn is benefiting from the fact that Claxton is playing the best basketball of his career, this also makes him a trade target for other teams looking to add a starting center. The Golden State Warriors have interest in adding an athletic big man before the trade deadline, with Brooklyn Nets center Nick Claxton one of 3 players identified as a possible target in a recent report from NBA insider Chris Haynes. Claxton's size and athleticism enabling him to both protect the rim and finish emphatically on the other end are key elements the Warriors are missing on their current roster. However, it's another skill that the 26-year-old has recently unveiled that makes him even more valuable within a Steve Kerr-led system. Nick Claxton is valuable to the Warriors. Claxton averaged less than 2 assists throughout his first 6 years in the league, including a previous career high of 2.2 during that span. But under second-year head coach Jordi Fernandez, Claxton's assist numbers have skyrocketed to 4.4 per game despite the Nets being in rebuild mode and holding an 8-19 record on the season. To put this into context, Claxton ranks 4th in the league among those listed as centers when it comes to assists per game. The 3 above him have all made an All-Star game in the last 2 years: Nikola Jokic, Alperen Sengun, and Julius Randle, the latter of which should be considered a power forward. Just in a flow state, knowing the spots that I'm going to be in, knowing where my teammates, knowing where to find them, and the coaches just trusting me to make plays, Claxton recently said when asked about his playmaking. Many rival teams might look at Claxton's assist numbers and think it's just a product of having more opportunity on a young team. Yet even if that were true to some degree, it's different for the Warriors, whose offense so often requires a smart and savvy big man capable of finding teammates off split-cut actions. From Andrew Bogut to Draymond Green and Kevin Looney, Golden State have always had front-court players capable of being excellent passers. Claxton could very well provide the same, along with generating the rim pressure on both ends that the Warriors desperately lack. What players the Warriors would relinquish to reach the $25.4 million Claxton makes this season remains to be seen, let alone the draft capital that might be necessary to acquire Brooklyn's starting center. Claxton's increased playmaking is certainly an intriguing element though, and no doubt one Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the Warrior front office would be discussing when evaluating what they'd actually be willing to give up for the 6 feet 11 inches big man. Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler lead the way as Warriors beat Mavericks 126-116 on Christmas Day. Stephen Curry scored 23 points and knocked down a key three-pointer with 3:45 left to help seal it. Jimmy Butler added 14 points, 9 assists and 9 rebounds, and the Golden State Warriors beat the Dallas Mavericks 126-116 on Thursday. Mavericks rookie star Cooper Flagg had 27 points on 13-4-21 shooting, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in his Christmas Day debut, while Brandon Williams scored 26 off the bench. Klay Thompson returned to face his former Warriors team in the holiday matinee after missing Tuesday's home game against the Nuggets with soreness in his left knee. And former Splash brother Curry kept sneaking a peek of Thompson's warm-up before they met at midcourt for a greeting and embrace. Thompson received a warm ovation when he entered the game for the first time with 5:51 remaining in the opening quarter. Mavericks center Anthony Davis didn't return after exiting in the second quarter with groin spasms. Davis had 3 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 blocked shots in 11 minutes. Draymond Green started and contributed 7 points and 5 rebounds, playing in foul trouble 2 days after he and coach Steve Kerr had a heated exchange during a third-quarter timeout against Orlando, with both later apologizing to each other. Golden State started 0 for 6 from three-point range before the Mavericks even attempted their first shot from deep. Moses Moody connected at the 6:05 mark of the first quarter, and that helped the Warriors get going, along with Al Horford. Horford returned from a 7-game absence because of sciatica in his right leg. He came in at the 5:27 mark of the first and made all 4 of his three-pointers as the Warriors led 40-28 after one quarter. He finished with 14 points, DeAnthony Melton scored 16 and Brandon Podziemski contributed 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists off the bench. Takeaways from Warriors win over Mavs, 2 role players lead the way. The Golden State Warriors, 16-15, nursed a 13-point halftime lead en route to a 126-116 win over the Dallas Mavericks, 12-20, on Thursday at Chase Center. Cooper Flagg had a game-high 27 points. Stephen Curry had a team-high 23 points, 6 of 18 shooting, and Jimmy Butler had a great floor game with 14 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. Klay Thompson struggled in his 5th career game against the Warriors, finishing with 7 points on 3 of 8 shooting. Here are 3 takeaways from Thursday's game. Horford looks refreshed after missing 7 straight games. Coming into Thursday, the Warriors had a -13.5 net rating with Al Horford on the court, per Cleaning the Glass. Horford was shooting 32.1% overall and 29.8% from 3. Clearly his battle with sciatica was bothering him. Horford had his best game as a Warrior on Thursday, scoring 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals and no turnovers. He made 4 three-pointers in the first quarter, helping the Warriors build a 12-point lead. Horford was supposed to be a major rotation piece for Golden State, but that hasn't been the case yet. If the Warriors can get to a point where they are comfortable with Horford and Quinton Post as their main center rotation, that would allow them to focus more on getting a big wing in a trade. Melton shows his value. DeAnthony Melton has not shot the ball well as a Warrior, and that continued Thursday, as he went just 5 of 14 from the floor. But he excelled at everything else. Melton had 16 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block and no turnovers. He was a game-high +19 in 24 minutes. Coming into Thursday, Melton had a +3.5 net rating despite the fact he had woeful shooting percentages, 27.1 FG% and 12.53 PT%. If he gets back to his career 36.5 three-point percentage over the season, you can expect his net rating to get even better. Once he starts shooting the ball well, he should play more 2-guard minutes than any Warrior. Davis gives reminder why trading for him would be so risky. Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the NBA when healthy. The problem is he can't stay healthy. Davis left the game in the second quarter with a groin injury. He did not return. Davis has played just 16 games this season. He played 51 last year. He's had more than 62 games played just once since the 2018-19 season. There's been no rumor that the Warriors are targeting Davis on the trade market, but if the Golden State Brain Trust considers trading Draymond Green, Davis would be an obvious target. This trade season probably ends with Green still a Warrior. His struggles have been well documented, but he has been taking care of the ball better, including having just 2 turnovers in 28 minutes Thursday. Anyone would love a healthy Davis, but the Warriors will likely decide he's not worth the gamble. Jonathan Kuminga has played his way directly off the Warriors. Jonathan Kuminga's form after returning from a 7-game absence may have put a final nail in the coffin of his Golden State Warriors career, with the young forward again left out of Steve Kerr's rotation on Monday night against the Orlando Magic. After starting the season in promising fashion, Kuminga's injury and subsequent form has put him on a one-way trip off the Warriors once he becomes trade eligible on January 15. Jimmy Butler has played himself directly off the Warriors. Kuminga's latest benching comes only shortly after he returned to the rotation for one game, having played less than 10 minutes in Thursday's 99-98 loss to the Phoenix Suns. Unfortunately, the 23-year-old couldn't make his mark, recording just 2 points and 4 rebounds on 1 of 5 shooting from the floor. Perhaps Kuminga would have retained his limited minutes in Saturday's return meeting against the Suns at Chase Center, only to be ruled out through illness. Given the Warriors won that game which ended a 3-game losing streak, head coach Steve Kerr wasn't about to rush Kuminga back into minutes. Kuminga joined Buddy Hield as the only two active players who didn't play on Monday night, or at least until the final minutes in garbage time when the veteran sharpshooter finally saw the floor, and Kuminga notably didn't. Pat Spencer, Guay Santos, Gary Payton II, Tracy Jackson-Davis and Will Richard all played above their more credentialed teammates, and it proved the right decision as the Warriors, after a back-and-forth game for nearly 3 quarters, eventually took control against the Magic to claim a dominant 120-93 victory. Monday's rotation likely signifies what Golden State's plans are before the trade deadline. Use Kuminga and Hield's combined over $31 million in salary, along with some draft capital, to find a legitimate upgrade that can bridge them closer to the top tier of teams in the Western Conference. There's been multiple reports of the Warriors exploring moves involving Kuminga, including from longtime NBA insider Mark Stein on Sunday. All signs continue to point to a Jonathan Kuminga trade of some sort before the deadline once Kuminga becomes trade eligible on January 15, Stein wrote. The good news for Golden State is that, according to Stein's colleague Jake Fisher on Tuesday, the next few weeks won't change Kuminga's valuation among rival teams. It's a shame that Kuminga's positive early season form couldn't be sustained, but this was always likely to be the outcome from the moment he eventually re-signed with the Warriors in restricted free agency. Warriors may have traded away one of the most improved players in the league. Ryan Rollins has been fantastic for Milwaukee. The Golden State Warriors have made plenty of difficult roster decisions over the course of the last few seasons. During the 2023 offseason, they traded Ryan Rollins to the Washington Wizards as part of the deal that got them Chris Paul. Now, Warriors fans are watching with regret as Rollins looks like one of the most improved players in the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks. Rollins is averaging 17.0 points this season on 47% shooting and 38% from 3. He started 26 games for the Bucks while dishing out 5.9 assists a night as well. He's certainly one of the leading candidates in the Most Improved Player award conversation. No one could have reasonably seen Ryan reaching this kind of level when he left the Warriors, but that doesn't make this any less painful for the fanbase. What makes this sting even more for Golden State is how cleanly Rollins would fit into what the Warriors are missing right now. This team has struggled to find consistent secondary creation behind Stephen Curry, and too often the offense stalls once defenses load up on him late in games. Rollins has developed into a competent downhill guard who can score at all 3 levels while keeping the ball. Those skills are necessities in today's NBA, especially for a roster that leans so heavily on one offensive engine. The Warriors could use Ryan Rollins' talent right about now. At the time Golden State traded Rollins, the decision was understandable. The Warriors believed Chris Paul could stabilize their offense and help them extend their championship window. The problem is that the window has narrowed faster than expected, while Rollins has quietly blossomed since leaving. Watching him thrive in a defined role with Milwaukee only highlights the Warriors' difficulty in producing meaningful internal development. Rollins never lacked talent in Golden State, but his opportunity was very limited. In Milwaukee, he has been empowered to attack and to learn on the fly. The result has been one of the more dramatic leaps in the league this season. This isn't about assigning blame or pretending the Warriors should have predicted this outcome, it's about acknowledging a pattern. Golden State has repeatedly struggled to balance patience with urgency, often sacrificing long-term upside for short-term stability. Sometimes that works, and other times it leaves you watching a former player become exactly what you now need. For a franchise that built its dynasty on internal growth and player development, it's hard to ignore the irony here. Rollins' rise is a reminder that talent development is rarely linear, and that letting go of young players too early can come with a steep cost. Right now, Warriors fans are left watching another team reap the rewards of a player who once wore their jersey, and wondering how different things might look if timing and opportunity had aligned just a little bit differently. Controversial Warriors player is slowly taking himself off the trade table. Brandon Podziemski's early season form had him emerging as a possible trade candidate leading up to the midseason deadline, but the young guard is slowly shifting that perspective at just the right time. Podziemski has often been a controversial figure at the Warriors throughout his career to date, having spoken very publicly about his desire to become a legitimate star while not always backing it up, much to the frustration of fans. Brandon Podziemski is playing himself off the trade table. While Podziemski remains in a bench role and subsequently hasn't exploded with any mammoth performances by any means, he's stringing together some consistent outings which provides optimism on what he and Golden State could do moving forward. The 22-year-old has scored between 12 to 18 points in each of the last 4 outings, providing the kind of reliability Golden State have lacked out of he and their other role players throughout the season to date. During this span, Podziemski has averaged 14.3 points, 4.0 rebounds, and 4.8 assists, shooting a highly efficient 56.4% from the floor and 45% from three-point range. The Warriors have been a plus 50 in his minutes, including being an astonishing plus 36 in less 28 minutes during Monday night's impressive victory over the Orlando Magic. Podziemski is still making just $3.7 million this season, meaning his contract is unlikely to make too much difference when it comes to salary matching in a deal before the deadline. Perhaps other teams regard him to a point where he's involved in trade discussions, but recent form suggests that unless a star is coming back the other way, Golden State are likely to hold on to Podziemski given the value he provides on that minimal salary. In fact, the question might be less on whether Podziemski is traded before the deadline, and rather how his performance over the remainder of the season will dictate extension discussions with the front office next offseason. The former 19th overall pick will make $5.7 million on the final year of his rookie deal next season, with a major watch on whether he warrants a reasonable extension ahead of his 4th year, or whether the Warriors allow him to test restricted free agency as they did with Jonathan Kuminga. This isn't to say Podziemski is completely untouchable between now and the deadline, but he's providing a timely reminder of his valuable production that will ensure Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office are hesitant to part ways.